The House is resumed. Call Government Order of the Day number 1.
Appropriation 2008-9 Financial Review Bill, second reading.
Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the Appropriation 2008-09 Financial Review Bill be now read a second time.
The question is that the motion be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. To the contrary, no. The ayes have it. Clerk announces bill second reading. This bill is set down for committee stage next sitting day.
Appropriation 2008-9 Financial Review Bill, second reading.
Call Government Order of the Day number 2.
Children, Young Persons and Their Families, Youth Courts, Jurisdiction and Orders Amendment Bill, second reading.
Honourable Paula Bennett.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the Children, Young Persons and Their Families, Youth Courts, Jurisdiction and Orders Amendment Bill be now read a second time. This bill represents New Zealand's biggest commitment to improving frontline youth justice services in many years. Our more serious youth offenders will get more attention. They will get greater support. They will face stronger discipline. There will be greater expectations of change. The legislative changes will give youth court judges new options by providing tougher and longer orders for our most serious young offenders. These are young people who are on a fast track to prison if we don't turn their lives around. New Zealand has been appalled that some of these offenders are as young as 12 and 13 years old. This bill also extends the jurisdiction of the youth court so these young people, a tiny minority, can get the same intensive support offered with this government's Fresh Start reforms. Their behaviour needs special attention if they are to be saved from a lifetime of crime. Yes, all serious young offenders will be subject to longer and more intensive sentences, but they will at the same time receive support and rehabilitation opportunities unequalled in New Zealand's history. This government is serious about tackling youth offending, and we are putting $84 million into Fresh Start over the next 3 years to do just that. I thank the Social Services Committee for its diligent and careful consideration of this bill. Thank you especially to the Chair for the outstanding job she did. I'm pleased that the committee received 51 submissions on the bill, with most people giving up their time to make oral submissions. The committee made a number of excellent recommendations, and I thank them for that. It is clear that there is a great deal of interest in getting this legislation right. The bill introduces longer and more intensive sentencing orders. It doubles the maximum time a serious young offender spends in a secure residence from a standard 3 months to 6 months. I've talked to many professionals working with young offenders and their families. There is general agreement that 3 months is not long enough to make lasting change. One mum told me she had just started seeing improvements before her son was home again and back to his old ways. A longer time in residential programs will help embed good habits and boundaries to better prepare them for their return to their communities and families. We are not just going to dump these young people back into the community. The bill also doubles the maximum amount of time a young person will be supervised and supported in the community after release from a secure facility, from 6 months to a year. Under the bill, youth court judges will also have new options to compel young offenders and their families to complete parenting education, mentoring and drug and alcohol rehabilitation programs. These orders will address the root causes of offending. Every single serious offender appearing before the youth court will have a comprehensive plan addressing her or his particular crime triggers. We know these programs work. A young man sentenced on aggravated robbery charges was linked into a mentor who, by encouraging the boy into kapahaka, helped him reconnect to school. That young man is now crime-free and looking forward to studying business and information management at university. Young offenders will be intensively monitored, kept busy and focused, and will be held to greater account if they do fall off the straight and narrow. The bill will see for the first time these young offenders kept under the scrutiny of the youth court. It has long been a defect in the legislation that young offenders cannot be compelled to come before the youth court to answer allegations that they are in breach of their sentences. Also, on occasions, sentences have expired without young people being held to account for their breaches. This actively undermines public confidence in the youth justice system. The Social Services Select Committee proposes amendments that enable the Youth Court to issue arrest warrants for young offenders who breach orders or go into hiding from the system. The amendments also enable the Youth Court to suspend the operation of an order while it deals with breach allegations. Police are also granted powers to ensure curfew conditions of intensive supervision orders are enforced, by arrest if necessary. Our plans for 12 and 13-year-old offenders who commit serious crimes have attracted a lot of attention and debate. In my view, it is absolutely necessary for the Youth Court to have jurisdiction over this very small number of young people if they are to be saved from a life of crime. The Family Court simply does not have the tools and solutions to deal with these extremely complex cases, especially when there's often little buy-in from these children's families. Let me be very clear. We are talking about only those young people who have record of offending well beyond their years. These are 12 or 13-year-olds who are out of control and who are endangered in our community. Take the case of a 13-year-old boy the system is struggling with at the moment, in trouble with the police since he was 8, with a fully fledged drink and dope habit. His most recent offending involves threatening with a weapon, assault and burglary. As the second eldest of 6 children, his behaviour is now impacting on his younger brothers and sisters. The bill gives us more choices in how we address serious child offenders. Police will have the choice on whether to take action either in the Family Court or the Youth Court. The Youth Court will have the power to refer the matter back to police if judges feel that there are matters better dealt with by the Family Court. I believe this approach protects those very young offenders. For those 12 and 13-year-olds who are to be dealt with by the Youth Court, I want to be clear that it is a court specially designed to deal with young offenders. I have no doubt whatsoever that Principal Youth Court Judge Andrew Beecroft and his fellow Youth Court judges will take a balanced and sensible attitude to the small number of 12 and 13-year-olds that come before them. The Social Services Select Committee has recommended several changes in relation to child offenders. In particular, it has tightened up the rules that determine which child offenders should be subject to youth court jurisdiction. Many submitters were also concerned about the current inadequacies of the Family Court currently to deal with child offenders. For example, the Family Court has no powers to impose bail conditions and has limited options when the child first comes before the court. The Fresh Start reforms will be better supported when we can fix the way the Family Court deals with child offenders. As such, I welcome the Social Services Select Committee's inquiry into child offenders. I'm confident the committee will identify practical ways to improve the ability of the Family Court to respond to child offenders. An important feature of Fresh Start is our plans for our 40 most serious youth offenders to participate in military activity camps. These are kids for whom the system is just not working. These young people have no respect for the law, they have no respect for people or for property. They are notorious in their neighbourhoods, and there will be many adults who have tried and failed to help along the way. New Zealand's armed forces have a long and proud history in working with young adults. Since 1993, thousands of young adults have participated in limited service volunteer schemes. 75% who completed this military training life skills course have succeeded in getting work or going into further skills training. The mix of traditional values of teamwork, self-discipline, individual responsibility, pride and discipline have turned around the lives of thousands of young New Zealanders. It makes sense to incorporate some of these elements into a program for those who until now have been seen as hopeless cases tracking an almost inevitable path to prison. The recent pilot run by the Child, Youth and Family in